Every man has heard it. You'll never really understand women. And most guys believe it. That lie keeps men frustrated, second-guessing themselves, and walking on eggshells in every relationship. You try to listen. You try to be kind. You try to give her exactly what she says she wants. But somehow, it never works. She pulls away. She loses interest. Or worse, she stays, but the spark dies. And you're left wondering, what the hell do women actually want? Here's the truth most men never hear. You don't need to feel what she feels to understand her. You don't need to be more emotional, or more sensitive, or more like her. That's not the answer. In fact, that's exactly why so many men fail. Because women's words are not the roadmap. Their feelings shift like the wind. Their explanations often sound noble and mature, but their choices tell a very different story. And if you don't know how to read those choices, you'll always be lost. This video isn't about theory. It's about cutting through the noise and seeing what actually drives attraction, loyalty, and desire. Once you learn this, you'll stop chasing approval and start commanding respect. By the end, you'll understand women in a way that even they don't understand themselves. Stay with me, because the secret you're about to learn will flip everything you thought you knew about women upside down. Most men fall into the same trap. They listen to what women say, and that mistake costs them attraction, respect, and years of wasted effort. Because here's the truth when it comes to desire. Words are theater. Behavior is reality. Think about it. How many times have you heard a woman say she wants a nice guy, someone who treats her well, someone who's stable? And yet, who does she run back to? The man who keeps her guessing, the one who doesn't always answer, the one who frustrates her but never loses her interest. It's maddening, right? You watch her ignore the man who gives her everything she claims to want, only to chase the man who gives her none of it. You wonder if women are lying, if they're broken, or if you're missing something. Here's the twist. She's not lying. She believes her own words, but her actions reveal the truth her biology refuses to hide. Let me paint it clearer. Imagine your friend tells you he's serious about his health. He says he wants to get in shape, eat clean, and live longer. Sounds convincing. But the next time you see him, he's slamming down pizza and skipping the gym. What matters more? His speech or his behavior? Obviously, the behavior. Women are no different. A woman can talk about wanting stability all day, but if she keeps choosing men who bring chaos, the choice tells you everything. Another might say she craves communication, but when faced with a man who genuinely opens up, she pulls back. Yet she runs to the man who reveals nothing. Her conscious words and her unconscious actions split, and actions always win. This is why listening to words is dangerous. Words are fog. Behavior is the compass. Now let's break it down. A woman tells you she's tired of drama. Friday night comes, she's texting the man who gives her the most drama. Another insists she wants respect. Yet she forgives the man who ghosts her, lies to her, and makes her doubt herself. Meanwhile, the respectful man who shows up consistently, he's invisible to her. It makes no sense until you realize her conscious mind is on one channel and her instincts are on another. She says she wants peace, but she rewards chaos. Her emotions fluctuate. Her instincts don't. She says she wants kindness, but she responds to challenge. She says she wants security, but she invests in uncertainty. Ask yourself which signal matters more, the words or the investment. the promises or the patterns, the speech or the pursuit, always the second, always the action. Men who miss this end up trapped in a cycle of confusion. She says, "I want more attention," so he drowns her in attention. She says, "I want more romance," so he goes over the top with flowers, gifts, constant reassurance. She says, "I want you to open up more," so he pours out every thought, every fear, every insecurity. And what's the result? The harder he tries, the faster she loses interest. It's brutal. You think you're doing everything right. You're giving her what she asked for. But every move backfires. Well, because you're playing the game based on her script, not on her behavior. You're following the directions she gave you instead of the path she actually walks. So here's the first rule. Don't build your strategy on promises. Build it on patterns. Don't believe what she says she values. Believe what she chooses to value. Don't focus on the feelings she describes. Focus on the behaviors she rewards. Her choices are her confession. Her behavior is the truth. Everything else is noise. And once you see that, the fog clears. The contradictions stop being contradictions. You finally understand that she's not broken. She's not lying. She's following an ancient script. And the only way to read that script is through actions, not words. Because in the end, women don't reveal themselves by what they say. They reveal themselves by what they chase. And once you accept that, you'll never look at dating or women the same way again. Here's the paradox that trips men up again and again. Women have two operating systems. The first is conscious. This is the part she talks about, the part that sounds good, mature, and socially acceptable. She says she wants kindness. She says she wants stability. She says she wants someone who communicates and makes her feel secure. On paper, it sounds flawless. And she's not lying. She really does believe it. But then there's the second system, the unconscious. And this one is far older, far more ruthless, and far more powerful. It's not shaped by culture, movies, or therapy books. It's shaped by millions of years of evolution. And this system doesn't care about what sounds right. It only cares about what feels right to her survival instincts. Here's the twist, not conscious preference, but unconscious programming. Not the list she tells you, but the pattern her instincts reward. Think about it. Why does she keep going back to the man who frustrates her? When she says she wants peace, why does she reject the man who opens up? When she claims she values communication, why does she lose interest in stability? When she swears she's tired of chaos. It looks like contradiction, but it's really consistency. Consistency with biology. Her conscious system speaks the language of society. It says, "I want comfort. I want harmony. I want safety." Her unconscious system speaks the language of survival. It asks, can he lead? Can he handle pressure? Can he protect? And when those two systems collide, her unconscious always wins. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine two bosses at the same company. The first boss is all talk. He writes memos, makes speeches, sets grand visions. The second boss is invisible, but powerful. He controls the money, the resources, the promotions. Guess which boss truly runs the company? That's her unconscious. Her conscious might talk the loudest, but her unconscious signs the checks. And here's the brutal truth when you try to please her conscious mind. You almost always fail her unconscious test. She says she wants more emotional availability. You open up, pour your heart out, make yourself vulnerable. And what happens? Attraction fades. She says she wants more romance. You buy flowers, plan surprises, give her endless reassurance. And what happens? She gets bored. She says she wants more stability. You play it safe, sacrifice your edge, and remove all challenge. And what happens? She pulls away. Because you've satisfied the script, but failed the program. Her unconscious doesn't reward compliance. It rewards resilience. Her biology isn't testing for kindness, it's testing for strength. That's why she feels torn. One side of her wants comfort. The other craves challenge. One side praises stability. The other loses interest without tension. One side says she wants a good man. The other side keeps choosing the man who makes her work for his approval. This isn't dishonesty. It's not manipulation. It's biology doing its job. For thousands of years, women's survival depended on picking men who could withstand storms, both outside and inside the relationship. And those instincts didn't vanish just because society got safer. They're still running the show. So here's the rule: never take her words at face value. Cross-check them with her behavior. Don't get trapped in the paradox. Decode it. Understand that what she says is her conscious speaking, but what she rewards is her unconscious deciding. Because in the end, attraction doesn't flow from what she thinks she wants. It flows from what her biology demands. And once you see that, the paradox isn't confusing anymore. It's predictable. Every man needs to face this truth women test, not because they're cruel, not because they enjoy drama, but because their biology is wired to. It's not personal, it's programming. Think of it like this. Before a bridge is trusted, it gets stress tested. Engineers stack on weight, shake it, simulate storms. If the bridge holds, people cross with confidence. If it cracks, nobody dares step on it. Women apply the same principle to men. They push, they pressure, they create tension, and they watch. Do you hold or do you crack? Here's the twist: not a request, but a test. What sounds like a complaint is often a calibration. What feels like conflict is often biology doing a scan. She says she wants more attention. You rush to give it, cancel your plans, and flood her with time. To you, that looks like love. To her unconscious, it's weakness. She just learned you'll abandon your priorities to calm her mood. Her test wasn't about attention, it was about your center. She argues over something trivial: where you ate, how you phrased a text. On the surface, it looks pointless. In reality, she's checking if you stay calm or spiral into anger, begging or retreat. She challenges your decision. It's not about the decision, it's about your backbone. Will you stand firm or fold? Here's the painful irony. Most men fail these tests. They think passing means fixing. They scramble to smooth things over, apologize, explain, adjust. They bend to make her happy. But in bending, they fail. Because what she was looking for wasn't agreement, it was strength. This is why nice guys constantly lose to men who frustrate them. The nice guy interprets every storm as a problem to solve. The other man sees it for what it is: a test to survive. He doesn't panic. He doesn't fold. He holds steady. And in doing so, he passes. And here's the loop: once she knows she can move you with her moods, respect vanishes. And when respect goes, attraction soon malalas. Think about the men women obsess over. They're not the ones who caved at every demand. They're the ones who stood firm. She may have screamed at him, cried about him, even sworn she was done. But deep down, her instincts whispered, "This man doesn't break. This man can handle life." And that's why she stayed. It's not conscious. She's not plotting tests like some villain in a movie. Her biology runs the code automatically. For thousands of years, women needed to know if life throws storms at us. Will this man stand tall or crumble? Those instincts didn't disappear. They still drive her behavior today. So the next time she pressures you, remember this: it's not a request, it's a test. Not a problem to fix, but an opportunity to prove strength. Passing doesn't mean bending. Passing means standing. Calm, steady, centered. Because here's the rule: men who fold lose respect. Men who hold earn it. And only the man who earns respect keeps attraction alive. Here's the cruel irony: the men who try the hardest often lose the fastest. You've seen it. Maybe you've lived it. The nice guy bends over backwards for her. He texts her first every morning. He cancels his plans to stay available. He buys flowers, listens to every rant, opens up about all his feelings. He gives her everything she says she wants. And still, she slips away. It doesn't add up. Isn't this what women claim they want? Isn't this the recipe for love? But watch closely. Every move he makes satisfies her conscious script while failing her unconscious test. He proves he's willing to abandon himself for her approval. And the moment she senses that, respect starts to erode. Here's the twist: not love, but loss. Not attraction, but erosion. Every time he bends, every time he overgives, every time he chases, he chips away at the very thing she craves most: his strength. Think about how attraction really works. She says she wants more communication. He opens up, pours his heart out. Instead of feeling closer, she pulls away. She says she wants more romance. He floods her with gifts, texts, and attention. Instead of being grateful, she gets bored. She says she wants stability. He sacrifices his edge, his ambition, his mission just to make her feel safe. Instead of rewarding him, she grows restless. Why does this happen? Because her biology doesn't reward compliance. It rewards resilience. You don't win by playing nice. You win by standing strong. Her instincts aren't testing for how much you can give. They're testing for how much you can hold. Hold your frame. Hold your mission. Hold your center under pressure. And this is why nice guys lose to men who frustrate them. The nice guy interprets every storm as a problem to solve. He apologizes, adjusts, proves himself again and again. But the other man doesn't fold. He stands firm, even if it annoys her in the moment. And that stability is what her instincts trust. Let's loop this with a question. Have you ever noticed women stay obsessed with the men they complain about? They rant about him, call him frustrating, even swear they're done. But deep down, they keep chasing. Because even though he's difficult, he never breaks. And her biology recognizes strength. Now compare that with the man who gives her everything she asks for. He's always available, always adjusting, always proving. And what does she feel? Boredom, restlessness, a quiet loss of respect that eventually kills attraction. Here's another twist. She doesn't lose interest because you're too nice. She loses interest because your niceness comes at the cost of your strength. Niceness plus backbone. That works. Niceness without backbone. That fails every time. This is why following her advice is dangerous. She says, just be yourself. Treat me like a queen. communicate more, and she means it. She's sincere. But if you build your entire strategy on those words, you lose. Because her words reflect her conscious self, but her instincts run on a deeper code. For men, this realization cuts deep. You look back at years of effort, years of giving, years of chasing, and see how much it backfired. But once the pain passes, you feel lighter, because you finally see the truth. You don't need to give more. You need to stand stronger. So here's the rule. Don't confuse overgiving with love. Don't confuse bending with connection. Love without strength is invisible to her instincts. Attraction without respect dies quickly. Remember this: women don't lose attraction because you cared. They lose attraction because you cared more than you stood. And once she feels stronger than you, the game is already over. So what does real strength look like? Most men get this wrong. They think strength means controlling her, ordering her around, refusing to care about her feelings. That's not strength. That's fear disguised as dominance. And women see through it. It doesn't last. Here's the twist. Not control of her, but control of yourself. True strength isn't about bending her world to fit yours. It's about refusing to let her moods bend you out of shape. Let's compare two men. The first is reactive. Every time she's upset, he scrambles. He explains, apologizes, changes his schedule. His emotional state rises and falls with hers. When she's happy, he's relieved. When she's angry, he's miserable. He calls this love. But really, it's dependency. The second man is different. She gets upset, but he doesn't collapse. She tests him, but he doesn't lose his frame. He listens, but doesn't cave. He stays on his mission. He adjusts only when it aligns with his principles, not because she pressured him. To her, he feels unshakable, safe, worth following. Which man keeps attraction alive? Always the second, because women don't trust men who wobble with every gust of emotion. They trust the man who stays steady, no matter the storm. Think of a tree in the wind. A weak tree bends, cracks, and eventually falls. A strong tree sways, but its roots hold firm. Women feel the difference instinctively. They don't consciously say, "This man has roots," but their biology registers it. Stability is magnetic. And here's the loop: women may complain about men who don't bend easily. They might call him stubborn, frustrating, difficult. But those are the men they respect. Those are the men they stay with. Because even in conflict, his strength reassures her this man won't break when life gets hard. Now think about the benefits for you. When you stay centered, you stop draining yourself trying to manage her emotions. You stop orbiting her moods. Instead, you stay grounded in your mission, your growth, your values. She gets pulled into your orbit, not the other way around. This is why nice guys lose. Their niceness has no center. They give endlessly but lack gravity. Without roots, they get blown around by her storms. And when she realizes she's the stronger one, her attraction fades. Romance without edge is just decoration. Here's the paradox. Women often say they want a man who's emotionally available and highly responsive. But deep down, what they crave is emotional stability, not emotional servitude. They want a man who feels deeply but stands firmly. A man who listens but doesn't crumble. A man who cares but doesn't abandon himself. So remember, Masculinity isn't about controlling women. It's about controlling yourself. Hold your frame, and you hold her respect. Keep your center, and you keep her attraction. Because women don't fall in love with men who orbit them. They fall in love with men who anchor them. Most men think this principle only applies in dating, but it doesn't stop there. It runs through every corner of life, because it's not just women who test you. The world does too. Friends, co-workers, family, everyone pushes, everyone pressures, everyone checks where you stand. Here's the twist, not bending, but standing. Respect doesn't come from endless accommodation. It comes from consistency under pressure. Let's start with work. Picture a weak manager. Every time an employee complains, he folds. Deadlines get extended. Standards get lowered. Rules change depending on who's upset. At first, the employees like it. It feels easy. But over time, they lose respect. They see him as spineless. Compare that to a manager who stays firm, fair, but unshakable. People may resist him at first, but eventually, they trust him. Why? Because strength creates security. Now think about friendships. Everyone knows that guy who cancels his plans the second someone makes him feel guilty. At first, his friends enjoy the control, but slowly, they stop respecting him. But because he's proven he has no backbone, compare that to the friend who honors his commitments even when pressured. He might frustrate people in the moment, but they value him more in the long run. Family works the same way. A son who gives in to every emotional demand from his parents might look obedient, but deep down, resentment builds on both sides. His parents don't see him as a man. They see him as a boy. Respect only grows when he steps into his own center. Loving them, yes, but living his life on his terms. And of course, relationships are the sharpest version of this. A woman might test harder than anyone else. She may push, storm, and challenge, but the principle doesn't change. If you bend too easily, you lose. If you stand with calm strength, you rise. Here's a question: who do you respect more? The man who changes every opinion to keep the peace, or the man who stands by his values, even if it causes tension? The answer is obvious. And women feel it just as strongly. This is why centered masculinity isn't just dating advice, it's life advice. The man who learns to hold his frame stops being tossed around by moods, demands, and manipulations. He becomes an anchor for himself, for his partner, for everyone around him. And here's the loop: when you bend, you might win approval for a moment, but when you stand, you earn respect for life. Approval fades fast. Respect compounds. So carry this rule everywhere: at work, in friendships, with family, and in love. Because strength isn't situational. It's a way of being, not bending, but standing. That's what people remember. That's what women reward. That's what the world respects. At the end of the day, everything comes down to one decision. Two paths, two outcomes. The first path is the one most men take. They believe every word a woman says. They chase approval. They try harder each time attraction slips away. They sacrifice their standards, their mission, and their strength, all to keep her happy. But does it work? No. The harder they try, the faster respect fades. That road always ends the same way: resentment, heartbreak, wasted years. The second path is harder at first, but far more rewarding. It's the path of observation, not obedience. The path of strength, not submission. The path of reality. not illusion. Here's the twist: not confusion, but clarity. When you stop chasing words and start reading actions, the fog lifts. Suddenly, her mixed signals aren't mixed at all. Her behavior tells the story. Who she invests in, who she chases, who she forgives again and again. That's the truth. And once you see it, you'll never unsee it. Think about what this shift gives you. You stop being whiplashed by her moods. You stop overthinking every text, every sigh, every complaint. You stop trying to solve emotions like equations. Instead, you anchor yourself. You trust behavior. You lead with strength. And women respond. Respect grows. Attraction lets, even when she storms. She feels safer with you than with the man who bends. Even when she fights, she desires the man who won't fold. She doesn't need you to manage her emotions. She needs you to withstand them. Ask yourself, which man will you be? The one who spins with every gust of emotion, or the one who stands steady no matter the storm? The man who lives in confusion, or the man who lives in clarity? 'Cause here's the truth: women don't need a man who obeys every word. They need a man who cannot be broken by them. They need the anchor, not the servant. And the world works the same way. People test you everywhere: at work, in friendships, in family. Approval seekers bend. Anchors stand. Which one gets respected? Which one gets remembered? Which one gets followed? Always the anchor. Always the man who doesn't fold. So the choice is yours. Stay blind. Keep bending. Keep chasing approval and stay frustrated. Or open your eyes, stand firm, and finally command the respect and attraction you've been missing. Because in the end, women don't follow men who listen to every word. They follow men who live in their center. They follow men who lead themselves first. And the moment you become that man, everything changes. Not confusion, but clarity. Thank you for watching. If this message hit you, don't just scroll away. Subscribe, dive deeper into our content, and start building the mindset that puts you back in control. Drop a comment below. What's the biggest struggle you want us to break down next? Let's build a brotherhood of men who rise above confusion and reclaim their power. See you in the next video.